Chandragupta is a commander that came out at the same time as Zhang Yu, and currently I think that Chandragupta is one of the least talked about but extremely powerful commanders in Rise of Kingdoms. I think that he is extremely underrated, and he brings a lot of power and utility to the open field. So today, I'll be talking about Chandragupta. I'll discuss why I think he's very powerful. I'll talk about some possible pairs for him, since I always do that with my commander videos, and I'll tell you who should be getting Chandragupta and how you can even get him. So if you're interested in Chandragupta, a commander that can bring amazing debuffs and very good damage to the open field, you definitely want to check out the rest of the video. Let's start off by discussing Chandragupta's skills, and first of all we have his active skill, and the way this skill works is it's a 1000 rage requirement that gives him 40% increased all damage for 3 seconds, and at the same time he gets 1 stack of Blessed for 10 seconds. He can stack his Blessed up to 3 times, and we'll discuss what Blessed does in a minute, but right off the bat, 40% all damage, I know there's no damage factor yet, is still really nice. I like all damage on commanders. We know, for example, with Julius Caesar, the reason he is so strong is because he has so much all damage just available in his kit. So all damage instead of damage factor on an active skill is still something that can be considered powerful. While yes, Julius Caesar is a 5-second buff, Chandragupta is only a 3-second buff. He has way more in his kit that definitely makes up for it, and I actually like that active skill quite a bit. It is a little bit different to what we currently see on the open field. Then his second skill is a rally skill. This is not very useful for the field, but it is still a okay rally skill. I don't recommend him for rallying, but when he was in the meta, basically what would happen is, when he's attacking cities or strongholds, he takes 10% reduced damage, and he gains another stack of Blessed after using the Hidden Moon skill. So he gets a double Blessed stack right there between those two skills, so he can pretty much keep up 3 stacks within 2 skill cycles, and then you'll see what Blessed does in a minute, but it is a really nice rally skill right there. Then his third skill, which in my opinion is his best skill, the way it works is when he's using only cavalry units, his health is increased by 20%, so that is really nice right off the bat. And then each attack has a chance to add a stack of exhaust to the target, reducing the target's health by 5% and their defense by 5%. Each stack lasts 5 seconds and can stack up to 3 times. Now this is a passive skill, so with passive skills we know their debuffs stack with anyone, it does not matter who. His debuff will stack with Zhang Yu, Nevsky, any health debuffs, so CPOs, his debuff is going to stack with it, and this is in a passive skill slot, and you basically get it by just hitting the opponent. You don't have to throw active skills, it is just to hit the opponent, and you can stack a bunch of exhausts on the opponent and reduce their health and defense by a max of 15%. And this is not a hard debuff to trigger. Literally within around 3 to 5 turns, you will have all the debuffs triggered, and you'll be able to easily keep them up on your target. So his debuffs are probably the most powerful thing in his kit, giving you a grand total of 30% reduction between the two stats. It's really nice, and I think that is one of the main reasons I think he is still viable. Then his fourth skill is another really good skill. First of all his damage taken from calves is reduced by 5%, so all calves will take 5%, will deal 5% less damage to him. And then after using an active skill, all troops' march speed is increased by 25%, which is really good if you have to get away from combat. You can like swing around, hit someone, throw the active skill and run away, which I've actually used personally with other commanders, so I think that is a really nice part of his kit for getting out of tough situations. And also a nice way to chase down people, because often you'll find that sometimes you throw one active skill and you just don't have enough march speed to reach them. Often this little boost of march speed will actually give you a nice amount of march speed to actually hit them. Meanwhile, all stacks of Blessed are removed, so after he throws his active skill, and damage is dealt to the target based on the number of stacks removed. Damage factor equals stacks times 500, so that is really strong. First of all, at the moment, you're only getting 1 stack of Blessed, but once we get into his expertise, you'll see he gets a lot more than just 1 stack. And that means he's going to be getting a 40% all damage increase, plus all the damage factor here, plus he's got this really good debuff. And the reason I say that he's going to have a lot of damage factor, because when we look at his expertise, you can see he can now gain Blessed stacks 4 times. He can get it 4 times, and since each one gives 500 damage factor, you can get up to 2000 damage factor in 1 turn. Not only does he get 4 Blessed stacks, while in Alliance territory, each normal attack he does has a 50% chance to gain 1 stack of Blessed. So just hitting the opponent, you get 1 stack of Blessed. Outside of Alliance territory, you have a 50% chance to gain 2 stacks of Blessed instead of 1 stack of Blessed. So you're off the bat already being able to gain at least 3 stacks of Blessed while on Alliance territory, and probably your full 4 stacks of Blessed while off Alliance territory. Also, keep in mind there is a cooldown of 5 seconds on this, so sometimes you may be noticing you're getting the 4 stacks in 1 turn and just 2 stacks or 3 stacks in another turn. So sometimes you may notice the cooldown trigger messing with the skill cycle a little bit, but often it will carry over to the next one, and the next skill cycle may have the 2000 damage factor, while the one before that had 1500. So keep that in mind, the effect trigger is a little bit annoying, but you often work around it, and he still gets most of his Blessed stacks anyways. The other nice thing about this is since his 4th skill triggers after using an active skill, it triggers 1 turn after. And what does that mean? Well, that means he's already gotten his all damage bonus. So even if he is not the primary and he throws that active skill, he's going to get the 40% all damage. It's going to last 3 turns. And then the next turn, he's going to get rid of the bless that he got from that active skill, plus any extra bless he got. And he's going to have the 40% all damage boost, plus whatever boost he's getting from the commander that's the primary. And when he drops his skill in, it's going to be really powerful because you're going to have the 40% all damage, plus you're going to have pretty much a bunch of debuffs on the opponent, and you're going to obviously lose your bless stacks, but you're going to be able to drop at least around 2,000 damage factor off Alliance territory. Throw in the 40% more, it's around 2,800 damage factor, approximately, if all damage is pretty much 1-for-1 increase for skill damage. It's crazy how much damage factor he could be dealing in one skill cycle. As a commander who was released almost 3-4 years ago, I'm not actually sure exactly how long, it's been quite a while, so he's definitely an extremely powerful commander in damage factor and in utility so far. As for commander pairings, this is probably where it gets a little bit tough to really decide for Chandragupta, because he is a little bit of a niche commander. Like I said, he's very powerful. Like, you can't deny his kit is still almost up to standard with what I would say is usable, or if not good, on the open field. It's just, there are somewhat better commanders, but if I had to decide some really good pairs for him, if you have him right now and you don't really have a March for your Nevsky, he works well with Nevsky. I'd put him as a primary or a secondary, probably as a secondary to hide him, and then also you're still going to be benefiting from the all damage on yourself. You're not going to benefit from the Nevsky getting the all damage, but if you put him as the secondary to Nevsky, you will benefit from Nevsky's extra triggered skill damage, so I do like putting him as a secondary to Nevsky. Secondary to XY is also another really good option, especially if you're running 3 cav marches. This is probably the 3rd best cav march. It's XY with Chandragupta. One of the best 3rd cav marches, really good support. He's got a really fast rage cycle, ZHUGE, so you're going to be able to drop that active skill even more often, which means you're going to deal the damage factor more often, and also you're going to have that all damage boost more often, which is really nice. So I'd really like Chandragupta with ZHUGE. I would have to run him as the secondary though, because if you're running Chandragupta as a primary to a ZHUGE, you're literally wasting ZHUGE's kit. So Chandragupta is definitely a secondary to ZHUGE. And then the final pairing I could probably consider would be Hao Bing for similar reasons to ZHUGE, because Hao Bing is a short rage cycle similar to ZHUGE. You're going to be chugging out the all damage boost, you're going to be dealing a lot of damage really quickly, and you're going to be doing nice debuffs. Plus, Hao Bing has a lot of march speed off territory, which is nice for chasing down your opponents while gaining your double stacks of Blessed, which means you're going to deal more active skill damage, and Hao Bing's got the faster rage cycle, so you're going to rage cycle quicker, and that commander pairing is really good. As for some more niche pairings which you could consider, Saladin is extremely tanky, and I think that Chandragupta either needs a really up-to-meta commander like Hao Bing, or a really fast rage cycle commander like ZHUGE, or you need someone tanky, which is why Nevsky was the current recommendation, and the only other commander I would consider is Saladin. Some people used to say William with Chandragupta, but I think that's way too squishy nowadays. I definitely wouldn't be running that. But Saladin with Chandragupta, fairly tanky, still a decent commander, Saladin is. So I think that Chandragupta with Saladin is definitely a pretty good march. I'd probably run the Saladin as the primary though to hide the Chandragupta behind it, so that no one really wants to hit a Saladin. Like, he's not doing too much against the opponent, he's just there to deal a little bit of damage. So if you see a Saladin on the open field, most people ignore it. Had a Chandragupta behind there, it's going to be a menace of a march. So I really like that, especially if you're running 3 cav marches, or maybe even up to 5-6 marches in total. That's definitely a very decent march to put your Saladin with if you want to get the march speed reduction that he's bringing and all the other tanky utility that he has in his kit. Now, if you do want to use Chandragupta, you're going to need to unlock him. And where would you unlock him? Well, he's actually very versatile in the way that you unlock him. First of all, you got the Mightiest Governor. He's probably one of the best value cav commanders in there, since often the MGE cav commanders are a little bit underwhelming. I think Justinian is a little bit better than Chandragupta in terms of MGE cavs, because he's literally brand new and he's just loaded with stats and crazy high stats all around. Keep in mind though, Justinian definitely doesn't have the future value of Chandragupta, because Chandragupta, crazy debuffs. Justinian, literally no debuffs. So keep that in mind if you're going to be running Justinian over the Chandragupta. You are looking at a commander who has very little debuffs compared to a commander who has a lot more debuffs and fairly decent damage factor. So he's a very good choice in the Mightiest Governor if you do want to grab him from there. Maybe you already haven't unlocked most of the MGE cav commanders. Another option is just to get him from the Legendary Tavern, which is the easiest, most free-to-play way. If you're a free-to-play low spender, it's going to be difficult to get him from a Mightiest Governor, and if you do get a Mightiest Governor, you're probably best off using it on a better commander. For example, you might get an Artemisia, you might get, for example, a Tariq from the Infantry MGE, but if you want to get him from the Legendary chest and then invest in him from there, that's a really good way to get it. I've opened probably around 3 or so of these chests, and if you were to easily get one of them, you can get a full unlock on Chandragupta, and you can start putting gold heads into him if you so please. And then the final way, which I think is the most convenient way to get him, is the daily special offer. And I think he's one of the best commanders in here. He's almost on par, I would say, with Guan and William. A little bit worse value because Yes, he's a little bit more of a niche commander, but he's still really up there with some of the best value commanders in this bundle. And if you want to purchase him from here and slowly max him over time, that is certainly a very good way to do it, since it can be quite difficult nowadays to truly invest in some of the older commanders, since Lilith is just pumping out new commanders so quickly. So if you do want to purchase Chandragupta in the daily special offer, I think that is still a really good option, and it's going to be a fairly decent idea for most players, even medium to low spenders. Now finally, who should get Chandragupta? Because he's a bit of a niche commander. I'm sure you've seen in his kit, nothing there is really screaming wow, crazy, crazy, crazy like Nevsky style. But he still brings a lot of good potential, and I've said multiple times throughout the video, if you're running 3 cav marches, he is essential. So if you're running 3 cav marches, Chandragupta, 100% must have. If you're running 6 or 7 total marches, even 5 total marches, he's an extremely solid choice because his debuffs are going to be amplified even further there, and his damage factor is going to be up to standard with some of the commanders that you would be running if you were running 5 marches. So if you're running 5, 6, or 7 marches, he's a very, very good option there as well. If you are a cav main and you're a pure cav player and you're running 2 marches, he's extremely good because if you're running 2 marches as a pure cav main, you're desperate to get your hand on as many debuffs as you want, because often maining just one troop type can be a little bit of a challenge, which is why I personally main archers. I find it very fun. I find working around different commanders very fun. So if you're a cav main, Chandragupta is definitely one of those older commanders you could consider investing in, and then you'll notice over time he's going to bring you a lot of value since his debuffs will be some of the only health and defense debuffs you'll have access to extremely consistently if you're only using cav commanders. Then if you're looking for an easy to access commander when you first get the Season of Conquest and you're just willing to buy him from the daily special offer, one of the best options out there if you're just willing to buy him after you buy William and Guan, he's definitely up there with some of the best options. He's definitely better than some of the other calves like Attila and Decatur. And I mean, that's actually it in terms of other calves. So he's definitely probably the 3rd best option here unless you really want a Harold. But I personally don't like Harold that much. Nebu I don't like too much for most newer players. So if you wanted to get Chandragupta as a newer commander, if you're purchasing from the daily special offer, he's extremely good value as well. And you could run him behind a Saladin. You could run him behind, if you have only got William from the daily special offer, you could run him there. If you purchased Attila, he could somewhat work with Attila since they're both very tanky commanders. So very easy commander to be using with a lot of other commanders you can access easily, and you can purchase him in the daily special offer, which is why I would say if you're going to buy him from here, he's definitely a good option to be using in the open field. Now overall, I don't think Chandragupta is a commander where I would say everyone go get him. Like right now, stop investing in Nevsky, stop investing in Hao-Che-Bing, and just go get Chandragupta. He's not that good. He is very good. Like, don't get me wrong, he's very good, but he's not that good. I think he is the best performing niche commander in the game. Maybe second to Artemisia, she is probably a little bit better performing with Boudica. But these commanders are niche commanders at the end of the day. An Archer main like myself would probably have an Artemisia, but then also a Cav main will probably have a Chandragupta. So it is a niche commander. If you're going to get Chandragupta, you are niching in that troop type. And for infantry, it would be like a Pakal. So keep that in mind. If you are going to get him, you're niching into Cavs, or you're niching into a very specific mutable that's just loaded with debuffs. So if you want to get Chandragupta, by all means, I think he's viable. That's what this video is about. If you've been considering sitting on the fence with him, and you've been like, well, I've got most of the meta commanders, you want to try something new, you don't really care about new commander releases maybe, and you just want to try run a lot of cav marches, or you want his really good debuffs and fairly high damage factor, he's still a decent commander that I would recommend possibly investing in if you are running a lot of cav marches, or you're running a lot of marches in general where he can get the most value. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, I would like to mention it's 11:57 PM right now, and I've barely edited the video, so I would like to ask you guys to please leave a like. Leaving a like is the best way to support the channel. Super easy, super free. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to, if you don't want to get my videos in your algorithm. It just helps YouTube increase the reach of this particular video, and it is very, very, very much appreciated from me and very much appreciated from YouTube. Some would even say that YouTube likes it. I am a comedian. I know my puns are on point. Now, I just want to say thank you for watching it. To see you in the next one.